The African Women Chartered Accountants recently hosted a conference in Johannesburg. Themed Africa is Open for Business, a woman's perspective, the discussion highlighted some of the challenges faced in doing business on the continent.
Today is basically about conscientizing ourselves around the opportunities that are in the continent, because everybody for the last decade now talks about the opportunities in the continent, but it's been more driven by Europe and the US coming into the continent. The question is that, are we as Africans ourselves taking up the opportunities enough, number one, but secondly, with this being driven by AWCA, a women's organization, is to say, are we women taking up these opportunities in the continent and making sure that we own them and we do all that is necessary to actually capitalize on these opportunities? The answer is that not enough. Yes, we've seen a few women-led organizations. We've seen a few private equity funds that are women-focused that have been created to allow women entrepreneurs to take up opportunities within the continent, but it is not enough. And the reason being the barriers that are still there. If you look at just the mobility within the continent, it is not easy to travel within the continent. Number two, there are different cultures within the continent that we also need to understand in terms of where do you go. So there's a lot of research at the moment that is available that we as women need to latch on, that has been done by a number of professional firms, be your accounting firms, your market research firms, your legal firms, and that is information that is showing us the growth industries like the agricultural sector, for example, on the food security side. The question is how much of that, given that it is in any case in the nurturing space where most women in the continent have had to use artisan kind of agricultural production, are women then taking up the opportunities with new technology in agriculture, the investments that are coming into the continent in those areas, for example, are the women in the forefront of taking that? We are saying not enough. Yeah. And so today is a way of coming together and saying, how do we then unpack and know who's already in the continent and work with those people so that we are able to actually meaningfully invest in businesses of the continent.
The AWCA is a non-profit organization founded in 2012 on the concept of mutual support and personal development by 4 women in the field of accounting. To date, their membership has grown to 3,000.
As AWCA, in the past, we focused on ensuring that we've got enough black women chartered accountants. Today, we are saying, let's support those women chartered accountants in what they need to do, where they need to have an impact. We have found that most of them are going into business, are becoming entrepreneurs. They're not going to the conventional areas of professional business or being just employed by corporate. So in order to help our members who are becoming entrepreneurs, we are saying, are you taking opportunities of the Africa integration? How can we help you? So our vision is to provide a platform for Africa integration, for other accounting organizations focused on women development in the continent. And we've already started doing that with the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, where we are working closely with the International Federation of Women Accountants in Ghana, in Kenya, in Nigeria, where we are capitalizing on opportunities and integrating amongst ourselves. So for us as AWCA, the next 5 years vision is around entrenching the quality of the woman chartered accountant that we are producing, ethical leadership, and leadership that is taking up the entrepreneurial opportunities that are coming up, rather than us just becoming conventional finance practitioners.
In South Africa, we're seeing more and more women rise to leadership positions in government. However, consensus amongst the delegates highlight that women are still making slow progress in the private sector.
It's become very clear in our country in particular, and other countries that you see where women transformation is even you see it embedded in government reforms. For us in this country, the BE Act has been a great catalyst, and the policies have assisted that. I think in the past, private sector has been lagging behind public sector in terms of women transformation. But today, where it is becoming very clear that government itself is not going to do business with organizations that are not transformed, that are not bringing their women in the forefront, it is becoming clear that this has to be at the top of the agenda. And you're seeing a lot now, not even on ownership. There's a lot of scrambling taking place, even on supplier development, on enterprise development, and even on the skills side. Because, even when you win work based on, in terms of what you'll demonstrate is your makeup as an organization, most government assignments now want to see the women driving those projects, the women leading those particular assignments, and there has to be visibility. So what it has led to, obviously, is the scramble for skills that is quite scarce when we're talking specialized skills and professional skills, and that is showing that private sector needs to invest more. Hence the hype on training. You see a lot of investment in training on skills, which is definitely needed, not just for those industries, but for the country at large.
Johannesburg, a hub of economic and social activity, attracts thousands of people from across South Africa and the continent. Although this rapid urbanization has created a number of challenges in terms of infrastructure, education and employment, Mabaso Koyana sees it as motivation for women to excel.
Gauteng is becoming a melting pot in terms of it being quite cosmopolitan, and where everybody is descending from the continent, which is great, because traditionally you saw a lot of movement into Europe because there wasn't enough infrastructure support, even transport infrastructure within ourselves. So Gauteng and Johannesburg, being the most developed in the continent, means that there are a number of opportunities, being the city of gold. What it has then meant for our members is that the era where we were few black women CAs and you were this scarce commodity and the world was your oyster, where after qualifying, organizations were scrambling for your skill as a young black woman chartered accountant. Today, the numbers, as I've indicated, have grown. In fact, more than 10 years ago when we started AWCA, there was 1% of black women CAs of the entire population of CAs in the country. Today, we are boasting about 11% of that. So which means now, that era of basking and saying, by the way, the opportunities must come to me, you now need to demonstrate your depth in your area of specialization. As a CA, you're a CA that knows what. If you're going to look for work in a mining company, they will pick someone who has at least spent enough time in understanding the business of mining. If you are going to investment banking, they need CAs that are grounded in their field. And that is becoming the challenge in the number of opportunities that are in Johannesburg, but also realizing that there are people coming from the other countries into our own environment who, I must say, have come from some areas like Ghana, Nigeria, with even much more stronger educational foundations and background, and especially in the area of financial training, who've also trained in Europe and come into Johannesburg in where the job market has stopped being an employee's market, but it's now an employer's market because of the job challenges that we are facing.
Recently at the Rand Park Golf Club, the City of Johannesburg, in partnership with the Central Gauteng Golf Union, hosted a golf development workshop. The aim is to make the sport more accessible to all, including township communities.
I think we're seeing currently, over all golf courses and golf clubs, people are trying to reach out, but I think we haven't reached that level of transformation yet. But it's also a two-way street. How much do people take the initiative in our young golfers, our young black golfers across the city to really be interested in this game? And I think also one of the ideas that they do have here today about groundbreaking is you start at schools. That's really where you start. And you nurture and you keep the potential going and you mentor. It's all about mentoring and how to keep them interested. Starting at the age of 8 and 9 could be a little too late, but you know what? It's never too late when it comes to mentorship and the development of young people in a sport like golf. There are a lot of people that are disadvantaged, and I think golf is appealing to everybody. It's always deemed as a rich man's sport, but I think that perception needs to change, because it's something about finding recreation for young people and taking them off the streets and getting them geared for something that they thought they could never aspire to be, and that's to be a king golfer and to compete. So I think that responsibility is not just the City of Johannesburg, but for each and every one of us to make sure that we go out and find their child and mentor and keep them involved in sport and in golf in particular as well.
The City of Johannesburg is currently hard at work implementing its Growth and Development Strategy 2040. In terms of sport and recreation, the aim is to motivate more citizens to participate by providing them with a platform to do so.
I think with the GDS 2040 is a different vision, where we are also saying currently, and we heard Karen saying from the department, is that we will make our facilities available to communities. We will do that because that is where it is. You cannot have a recreation center that is not used during the day and you have people hanging out in the streets. What kind of programs are we giving to the communities? So we need the community involvement to say, here's the facility, use it, do programs, do arts, do culture, do sport, do chess, do everything. We are there and we will make our facilities available to communities, but we need for them to organize themselves because it is about partnership with ordinary people.